Max, before we go to the second part, there were two issues we discussed during the break. One of them related to Enterprise Florida. At the beginning of your introduction, you said it's a public-private partnership. Could you tell us a little more about what's the public part of your work, what's the private one, and also about how you are supported from both sides?
Sure. So we are considered a public-private partnership as a nonprofit organization. We were created by the state of Florida. So our office is a mandate from the state legislature to create a nonprofit that will handle economic development.
I understand. And you mean the state legislature is the state of Florida, yeah?
State of Florida, correct. We have a rule in the state because we're called the Sunshine State.
Yeah.
All business must be conducted in the open or in the sunshine. It's a phrase. Well, the problem with economic development, and economic developers would know that you need to be very secretive if you're bringing a business in, or you need to have confidentiality. You cannot do that as a public organization in the state because they can ask for public records. So what we did to get around that is they created a nonprofit, public-private office that gets 70% of its funding from the state and 30% from the private sector. And that organization exists as Enterprise Florida. The 30% comes from the corporations in the state who want to see businesses succeed, who are centerpiece organizations who want smaller businesses around them. For instance, Boeing, a company called Embraer Air, which makes a smaller regional jet, Pratt & Whitney, which makes engines, Bristol Myers Squibb pharmaceutical company. They want to see the economy grow and have smaller feeder companies around them. I guess the trick is if you bring a big company to Florida, which is what we do, we bring companies from other states, we recruit them to bring their businesses to Florida. If you create enough smaller businesses right around them that feed into them, support products, services, resources, it's harder for them to leave and go somewhere else because all of their products and services are there. They'd have to take all those companies with them or create a whole new branch up there. So right now, you guys are probably feeling it. It's snowing in Poland right now, or very, very cold,
Well,
correct?
we know that it's not.
Yeah. It's very cold there, right? Well, up north in the United States, it's very, very cold. What are CEOs thinking right now? They want to be in Florida where it's 70 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny. So they call us all the time asking, can we come down here? Our job is to put them in a location where the services that they would need are close to access to them. That's the trick of economic development in Florida, is to create where it's almost impossible for them to leave once they get here. So we're funded by those large companies to recruit businesses and to grow businesses around the bigger businesses so they can all succeed. So in turn, the expansion part of it is we want to create businesses that are going to succeed on their own as well. So while they're supporting a bigger company, we want them also to have a product and service that's capable of supporting themselves in case something happens to the bigger company or they become large enough to grow and to be a big company where they need products and services around them. So the term is called, in the United States, it's called economic gardening. You garden your economy enough to where they grow big plants and you feed them at the roots. So that's what we're here for at the state level.
Excellent. The other question actually related to the experience you mentioned when you said that in the times of crisis, the companies who came and who wanted to produce goods or services for those who have more than the necessary, you gave them advice to wait until the crisis is over and until the new growth comes. Do you have or do you maintain some statistics or do you at least in terms of percentage, can you tell us what's the percentage of those to whom you say, quit the business, do not go on because it's a loss, it's a waste of time for you?
Well, we never actually can tell them they can't do what they want. You can always do business. But the question we have is it logical for you to do this right now? Are you going to succeed? And so that's the I guess the $500 question, or the big prize question is, will they succeed in our market? And so one of the things that we try to tell them is it's going to be very, very difficult, if in the case of where the discretionary spending comes into play, to be successful in this market right now. And that's the economic guard question that we ask is, can we support those businesses as they stand currently? So, and that's we tell, I'd say, no more than 20% of the companies, maybe 20%, to say it's not a good time to be in your business sector.
Okay.
Develop your business plan more and continue in your current job, because it's not going to be as successful as you want it to be. That's what we tell them. They can still create their business and go. There's nothing holding them. So.
Good. Thank you very much. So let's move on to the topic of the second webinar, which combines actually two ideas, two topics: increased sales and good marketing. Is that right?
Yep. So we do a lot of business helping companies increase their sales. About, I'd say, 90% of my job is trying to help a company increase their sales and their performance. Most of that is on the international stage. I'd say about, of the 90% of my time that's spent on that, 80% of that is spent on the international stage. But for purposes of this discussion, that works out fine, because international for you is 80 kilometers away or 10 kilometers away, wherever it's closer. So for us, that is a big thing, is creating market presence overseas. So what I wanted to talk about is kind of what we see from our domestic side, a little bit more, but 5 things a company can do right now to increase their sales, and the importance of customer service, at least in the U.S. market. In our market, that is about all that we have for company customer service. And we tell them, when they're at an international trade show, when they're at an event, customer service is so important, knowing your customer and understanding how to talk to your customer. A perfect example is, we were at a trade show and we had a company next to another company. There were 2 companies. One company was standing in front of his booth, handing out flyers, happy, smiling, very important. The other company, it's a joke, but it's funny, in the back of his booth with his arms crossed. Now, which company is going to do good on sales and market? I mean, have a good customer service? The guy who's sitting like this, or the guy out there smiling, handing out flyers, talking about his product? So that's kind of what we talk about when we're talking about good customer service. And the other part's developing a brand, and this is part of the good marketing. We have in a lot of our advertising and a lot of our marketing for companies, we try to make sure that they have some kind of good marketing, or marketing with a cause, social media presence, and also trade shows. For the purpose of, I guess, a lot of the incubator organizers in the room, the marketing with a cause might not be as important in the IT sector companies, but for the other companies, this is an important piece of what a lot of our companies do locally to gain not just the local market share, but also have that presence with, the news reporters or the media. The media love the good stories to have in the market. They love the bad stories more, but they love to have the good stories. So I'll explain that a little bit more in a second. So the 5 things onto the slide about 5 methods to increase sales. A lot of companies come to us at stage 1 year where they're in a company, they're a business, they're organized, and they're trying to increase their sales. The first thing that we talk about with a company that's trying to increase their sales is narrow their target markets. Now, this sounds odd from a perspective of, if you want to increase your sales, you should widen your markets. In fact, we talk about narrowing your target markets. There's a thing called the shotgun approach to sales and the focused laser beam. If you shoot a shotgun, the shotgun goes everywhere and you're just trying to hit a wide swath. But if you're using a laser to target in on something, just like the biathlon, by the way, which I watched all the Winter Games, which the Poles and the Slovaks are very good at biathlon, but that's shooting at a target that's really small compared to a target that's really wide. Just throwing things out there doesn't work. So narrowing and defining your target markets. We deal with a company right now that is actually in the IT service. They do, for my IT people, it's a tactical cloud computing system where they put everything into a tactical cloud. It's a server cloud, and they sell that to foreign governments, to places where it's really remote, dry areas where they need instant communications. A good example of it is the Chilean miners that were trapped in the mine for 50, 60 plus days. If you remember that a year or two ago in Chile, they had a tactical cloud that they set up during the command operations to receive data and transmissions and infrastructure. They used the cloud, this tactical software program in the box from a Tampa company. So their target markets now became the mining industry during a crisis, being able to distribute a command post with the tactical server cloud to a location to feed data, to feed O2 levels, internet searches, public relations material that they wanted to send out. It all went into this data server and then fed through there. So they learned that their target markets could be defined by certain segments. Instead of saying, I'm going to try to sell to this market, here, the military, they said, let's just go to the places that are heavy in mining. Chile, Peru, South Africa, Zimbabwe. They saw their sales increase by 30% the first year after that because they were focused on their target markets. They still had those little markets, but they took all their marketing efforts and put them into the big mining industry disaster emergency response thing, and they sold a lot. So if you're looking to increase your sales, narrow and define your markets and point to one direction. That's the number one thing we talk about, is instead of throwing everything out there, trying to do efforts in this and this and this, market it to a certain segment. That's number one. Number two is become a product expert. We talk all the time about companies that are small to medium-sized companies, especially in the IT and software. Write a blog. Make sure you have a blog about your product. Host in-house workshops, especially for the technology forum. They invite companies in and people from the general community. I want to learn better how to provide SEO to my website, search engine optimization. I want to teach companies how to develop a WordPress website or put on e-applications like commerce. So do in-house workshops where people can come in and learn from you as the product expert. That is the biggest thing we do with companies as well, is make sure that they are on the web giving their information to the general public enough that it's free so that they could charge if they needed to for over and above. And speak to local chambers of commerce or chambers of industry about your product or service. I am doing IT software development for this. I am doing, maybe it's the help desk ticket, where if you, on a big company, the help desk, your computer's not working, you submit a help desk request. They can tell companies about that. There might be people in the audience who work for bigger companies. So become a product expert. If you're known as a product expert, people will come to you for information. At least that's what we found in some of the US markets. The other thing is encourage upsells from staff. This is important because most people, if you're working on a business, especially in the, let's take the example of the recycling, the electronics recycling business, you know, incentivize your staff to sell more by offering commission bonuses, you know, personal time off, anything like that to encourage upsells. You know, we do this, but you could, you know, get this now too. So turn your sales staff into upselling your equipment or services. Every time I'm in Starbucks, I'm always asked, would you like a Danish or a pastry with my coffee? They're trying to upsell me. So make sure that your staff are always thinking about the products or services that you can offer over and above. Yes, we can create your website, but did you know we can also do your e-commerce? Help you with YouTube, create YouTube videos, those types of things. We have a in-house photography department and media department to create your social media brand. So those are important parts of upselling. The others set up customer incentive programs. We are working with this is a interesting industry. I'm working with a bridal design company that sells wedding dresses. And with their stores, we are helping them set up, if a store buys, if they are a manufacturer, and they are selling to bridal stores in the United States and actually in 5 different countries. If a company buys X amount of product, do they get a rebate? Do they get a discount? Do they get benefits? If they buy 50 pieces this year, do they get 1 free? Those types of things are very important. But also if you're selling to a B2C, business to consumer level, selling on those membership programs is important as well, especially in the States. We're finding that here. People will go more towards companies where if I buy this much, I get an incentive to buy more. So those are important steps in the incentivizing. And then here is the one that's most difficult for a company to figure out is the tier the customer by spending. Make sure that you have a customer, and this goes back to customer service as well. You spend equal amount of time on your customers, but the customer that's buying the most, you give them a little bit extra. You know, somebody that's buying one-off products, that's great. But somebody who's a repeat customer, you know their name, you know who they are, you know, and they will refer business to you in the market. Especially we found this to be true with a company that we work with that actually does make help desk ticket software for the IT industry. We've told them, your customers that buy the most product and services, spend more time with them, do more things with them, offer individualized training for their staff. We actually requested that they do some training in Portuguese for their Brazilian client directly for one office's staff. And so they did some training for them, and they saw even an increase in the amount of product that their Brazilian clients were buying. So those are very, very important, especially in the spending habits. You know, spend more time on the people that are spending more money on you is very important. Spend equally your marketing, but spend some more time on those clients who are very big in supporting you and your business. And this leads into customer service, which is, again, 90% of the business is how you treat your customers. And that's what we tell all of our businesses. Everybody who works with us, everybody who goes to an international trade show with the state of Florida, everybody that goes on a governor's mission with the state of Florida, 90% of your business is how you treat somebody in a foreign market. We all know, being business professionals, it's all about relationships. How good are you at relationships? If you need to be very good at relationships in order to succeed in business. That's 90% of what you do. You could have a product, but add business ethic, you know, business manner, and then people don't want to buy from you because they don't feel comfortable with you. So that's what we deal with a lot with companies. Number 2 on customer service is responding to customer issues and suggestions. A company that does that very good in the United States is Zappos. If you've ever heard of Zappos, they are a large shoe, they sell shoes all over the world. They sell other products now, but they used to just sell shoes. They have a customer complaint and inquiry day where they sit everybody down and listen to all the customer service calls, good and bad, not all of them, but a number of them, to see, so their product development know what's going on, their service people know what's going on, and their sales and their CEOs. So they all can sit down and listen in the same room. Here's the product inquiries, complaints, and questions we're getting. And that's something that they do very, very well. So everybody in the company knows what the product suggestions or customer issues are. For a company that may be 50 to 100 employees, or even getting to that level, your marketing department might not know what your sales department is doing. And vice versa, your IT department, the company that's actually doing the software, the customers might not know how to do that interaction very well. So those are important steps to know what your customers are thinking throughout the thing, throughout the package of your company. Knowing what questions will be asked before they do. If your company knows what questions your customers are going to ask, obviously you should address those first. So the biggest one we have is, how do you turn this on? Or what does this do? Be prepped for those questions in advance. In America, we're getting into a lot of, especially in the products industry, in plastics, there's something called BPA. Still, it's a chemical in plastic. So a lot of our companies are having to make sure that their machines are BPA free. It's a bad chemical in water bottles or in anything that you would cook material in. We're working with a plastics company that has that, and they had to go BPA free. So the first question they had to be able to answer in the European market was, is your product BPA free? And do you CE mark for your product? Those are important in the European market. So that's something that our customer had to know beforehand, before they went to a trade show, know what questions are going to be asked beforehand. That increases sales because you know the answer right away. The number 4 of the steps that I think are especially for customer service, if you have a product problem, do you give, let's say they want a refund or they want to send it back. Do you give them a full refund? Do you offer full refund, or do you offer credit? We've seen this work both ways in sales. Customers that offer a full refund, you ship product back right away, or do you offer customer credit? There's a company in Florida that makes thermoses or cups that are insulated. They offer a full warranty on the product. If your cup ever breaks, anything like that, all you have to do is send it back to us. We will pay for shipping and handling and send you a brand new cup. So those are great customer service. The product knows for the lifetime that they own the cup, it will always go back. It can always be lifetime guaranteed. Or you say, I'll just give you credit and you can buy more things later. Those are something individual companies have to work out, but that's great customer service to know up front. And the last thing we ask companies, because this helps with SEO a lot, is customer review of products. In turn, do they receive a discount on future purchases? In the United States, we have Amazon. If you were to type in any product, the first thing you see is usually the product with a product review. Amazon has gotten very good at offering product reviews first, so you see what other people have thought about a product before you even buy it. And so those have been big things. I just bought a TV or a computer monitor off Amazon. The first thing I saw when I typed in computer monitor on Amazon was, this is the best one we've ever rated. It's 5-star, good product or service. So offering those, at least in the United States, has been a big thing, product reviews. I am an Amazon account holder. If I do enough Amazon product reviews, I get a discount off of future purchases. So those are ways to incentivize people to review your products or services to help you grow. Another website that we have in the States is called Angie's List. If you're in the service industry, it's a website like Craigslist, where you go in and you say, I am a XYZ company. And then it lists all the product reviews from people who are at Angie's. They can review your company on there. So they say, great customer service, did a great job on my IT, did a great job on my plumbing, anything like that. And so people read product reviews before they even talk to the company. So your customers are great personalities to have when you're reviewing your product or service. So those are some of the things that we like to do. The customer reviews and testimonials, when we are helping companies sell overseas, Customer testimonials are very important to the selling process because they can see who else is buying your product or service. And that's what we've seen, especially in markets where the relationships are super important to a company's image. Mexico, Latin America, where relationships are big. Having a product review or testimonials of your company, it help you to increase the sales and marketing aspect of your company in those markets. Any questions so far?
Well, I have one which comes back earlier to the issues of upselling and cross-selling. Because it's maybe, to me, it may be something to, if you get across the border, then you may lose your client. I mean, if the client feels that you are trying to get as much money from him as possible, then he may even refuse the basic thing he came to buy. So my question is, are you advising your businesses on how to deal with upselling and cross-selling, not to overcome this imaginary burden, not to make your client feel uncomfortable?
Yeah, that's the trickiest part, and that requires a lot of attention to detail, especially in the IT sector or in the services sector. Not as much in the bakery. Do you want to buy pastry? Of course, I want to buy a pastry. You know, I'll buy pastry with my coffee. But in the services sector, you know, knowing your client, that's the important part, is knowing your client beforehand. So if they're continuing to come to you with, let's say, you're building a website for them or you're doing server data for them, you know, upselling is as easy as leaving them a pamphlet about your other services that you provide. Or, hey, we're introducing this product or service. We just want to let you know about it. The next customer contact you have, that's when you can start the real upselling process. So it's all about perception and how well you know your customer. So that's one thing we say is if you're going to introduce a new product or a new service, introducing by, here's some information, we have this product or service available now. And then the next time, have you thought about that? That's a good product or service, or especially in the IT is very tough because you get so segmented, in software as well. But if you can figure out a way to slowly hint at new products or services that you offer that help you be competitive, it helps with market gains. That's the trickiest one, is the upselling of products or services. But I understand where that's coming from. So.
Good. I'll ask whether others have some questions. Można czytać. Niektóre ostatnie nie to pytać. Nie teraz. Michał, there is one question, Max.
I would like to ask, what exactly is the role of local chamber of commerce? How they enhance startups? What is their approach? How to help them?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's a good question. Just to let you know about the environment here, the local chambers of commerce usually take care of their members, but their members are already developed businesses who, of course, want to grow, but they do not care too much about the support of the new competition, let's say.
Yeah. So this is the big question for a chamber of commerce. Do they want to grow their membership? Do they want to be seen as supporting the community? Here in the Tampa Chamber of Commerce, they have a class called Startup Connect, where they have taken 5 business ideas, and they are letting them have chamber membership for free for a year to get all the products and services, the networking that the chamber provides, all of that while they're starting their business, and they are in special classes. So let's say a member that provides accounting or a member that provides legal services, they get a chance to talk to the startup class of that year and have a chance to be engaged with that startup class. For us, it's a big win. Let's say a company becomes a bigger company. You know, the startup actually becomes a company. The chamber can say, we helped grow your business. That's the chamber motto here. in Tampa is grow your business. So they've taken that a step farther to include helping start a class called Startup Connect, where they're connecting startups to current members to see how they can interact. I can send you the link and the information on how they're doing that. It's a very simple process. They took applications, they had an interview with the local chamber here, the board, and the board chose 5 companies that they wanted to invest. They didn't invest money, all they did was invest time in the companies to be a part of the local business community to learn how their startup could be engaged. So it was an application process for them to be a part of this program at the Chamber of Commerce level.
Definitely, that will be
Yeah.
a good motivation for us.
Yeah, I'll send that to you so you can see what they're doing. But it helps the Chamber of Commerce grow their membership. So hopefully in a year they'll have 5 new members from this class. Next year they'll have more people come in. They'll have more members from this class. So they'll keep growing their business internally, almost from the start. And these are people that are not part of the chamber. So they are part of the normal business community. Now they've been instituted with the Chamber of Commerce to help grow.
The good thing about chambers of commerce over here in this border area is that they actually also are developing their cross-border contacts, and they are doing a lot of activities together. I mean, the Slovak chamber, the Czech chamber, and the Polish one. So they will definitely be motivated about also some other things that can move them to some other place rather than the one they are now in.
And for a chamber, helping, let's say you were the next company to be the next Facebook or the next Google or something like that. I was the chamber that helped start that. You know, that could be that's a big win for a chamber of commerce or for a region. We helped develop a company who became the next international brand, become part of our chamber. So it's a marketing thing for them on both sides. Plus, it also gives here the members a chance to reach an audience they never would have reached before. Startup businesses getting involved at the early stages of a company with their legal services, their accounting services, any kind of sales services, helps them in the beginning because they've touched a company from the start and not 5 years in advance when they're rocky. They've helped them grow from the beginning. So that's been very important.
Good.
Any other questions on that?
Not now. So,
Okay.
anything else you might like to add?
No, I'll send you the link to their website, and they have all their framework online, so you can see what they do, how that program works at the chamber level.
Good.
So, the next thing is, and this is good for every business, we work with is to develop a welcome kit for customers and potential customers. It doesn't have to be too fancy. It can be in print or it can be online. This is something that we tell companies they need a product or service directory that they can send to somebody. If you don't have one of those, you need to develop one now because it's important to list who your company is and what you do for somebody. Most of the product welcome kits are now, we ship them by PDF, so by email. I met you at an event, I'll send you a PDF of my company, and you have a welcome kit at least to know what we do. For more businesses where you have a customer relations contact or your sales, a paper document that you can give to somebody, here's our product and services that we have. But most companies don't have a welcome kit or something that they can give to somebody when they meet them. That is a big problem because if you're trying to do business and you don't have a website or you don't have a product category, how can they know what you're selling? I sell IT services. Well, that's great. What do you do? Or I sell this or this. So what do you do? So that's kind of a big thing for us is we make sure companies have some kind of welcome kit for new clients or new customers that, hey, thank you for being a part of our company. Here's the benefits using us. Here's the resources that we have. In that welcome kit, make sure you list, of course, your products and services. Have a few case studies. This is important as well. Again, to the customer reviews, have a few case studies on previous customers, not mentioning names, but more mentioning, here's what we did, here was the problem somebody had, here's how we solved that problem. Or here's the product that we have, here's how it is beneficial to you. A company had to buy something, but they kept breaking maybe a hammer, and we sell an all aluminum hammer so it never breaks, or something like that to that effect. So this helped this customer. The other one that is very good with that is somebody might not know they have a problem with their product. Why is and this is the normal one, why is my computer slow? That is the number one question. My computer's always slow, it's got so many programs. Knowing that, have you looked at this, this, and this? Here's how we fix their computer. Oh, I need to do that too. I will hire you to come in and fix my computer system. So having case studies is also very important. And back to in the welcome kit, answering commonly asked questions up front, so they don't have to keep asking those questions when they read through. How many years have you been in business? Who's working in your company? What do you work with? For the IT people, working between Linux and Windows is very different. So if I work on only Linux and Unix-based servers instead of Windows, they know who to go to. So I mean, those types of things. Your accreditations, your certifications. What are your certifications as a company? So those types of things. And then once you do that, you can study your customers. We like to tell companies through their client management or customer management systems, whatever they use, study your customers and what purchases do they make, when do they make purchases, and how do they make them. These are three big things for a 1.5 to 2-year-old company to start considering. What purchases do they make? Are they making all the same? Are they only buying your basic package? Well, then you need to think about, what's wrong with my premium or my platinum package, for instance? What am I not including that I can include here and still give the same great customer service, but upsell them to the next level? When do they make these purchases? For a lot of IT people that are dealing with government, they make them at the fiscal year. So they're buying either at the end of the fiscal year when they have a lot of money, or at the beginning of the fiscal year. So for a 3 to 4 month window in the United States, from August to the end of November is when they make their purchases for the year, or when they put their RFPs out. So from the month of January to the month of July, sales will be very slow, especially in the IT if you're dealing with government systems. So knowing when those sales cycles is very important to your customer clients, and when you can offer discounts.
Just a short break, because over here in the Czech Republic, Poland, and Slovakia, the fiscal year actually equals the calendar year. So I just want everybody to understand that in case of Florida, the fiscal year, or what you call the budget year, actually ends in October.
September. October starts the new fiscal year.
October starts the new fiscal year. So that's why actually the biggest sales in IT are at the end of the fiscal year and the beginning of the new fiscal year, which is then September and October.
Yeah, most of the companies that are bigger, like Cisco, Sun Microsystems, report big fourth quarter sales, because the calendar year for them is fourth quarter, but that's when the government will buy all their new equipment. So that's why you always see fourth quarter sales are important for the bigger technology products in the United States. So that's kind of the correlation to that for us. So knowing in the summer, if you're trying to sell product, what can you do during those months? Who can you sell to? So finding other markets where you have a different sales cycle. Mexico, for example, has a different sales cycle than the US. Their year starts in July instead of in October. So you now know if you sell to Mexico, you can increase your sales cycle throughout the entire year. So planning for those sales cycles is good marketing as well. That's what we deal with on a daily basis. And then how do they make their sales is another important. Do they offer you cash up front? Do they pay over a year contract? Do they want net 30? Do they want an invoice? Do they want net 90? Those things are important to know too. The best ones are having yearly subscriptions where they pay, every month they're going to pay for your service, or every year they're going to pay for your service. Those are types of things we tell companies is if you can get into the monthly subscription contracts, that helps you plan for the fiscal year instead of worrying about getting the one sale. So if you miss a month and maybe they don't pay, it's maybe because they didn't get resold on the product or something happened. So you know that you have months to plan instead of getting it all in one chunk and spending from there. So those are types of things, how you study your customers. The government is a one-time deal, and then they pay you, and then you have to provide for the entire year. But for smaller companies, it might be better to be on a monthly plan for them because of budgeting issues. So if you're selling software or products, those are some of the things to think about, is offering monthly subscriptions instead of yearly subscriptions, or even offering weekly if it can go to that. So that's how we tell companies to study their customers. Another good example of that is in some markets, it might take up them to make a decision on buying your product. In Japan, for us, that's becoming an issue, is it takes a year for people to actually buy your product or service. So that's where we're telling customers, it's going to take you a year of sales of actually marketing to this company before you even get a sale. So after a year, you need to know what your product and expenses are of having to deal with a new customer or a new client like that. So does that answer any questions on that?
Looks like everything is completely understood.
Good.
Max. You're a good lecturer.
Hopefully.
Perhaps if you speak a little slower, that's what some of us say, just to keep up with your English.
Perfect.
Which is
I'll try.
perfect, just ours is not.
So, on to good marketing. Knowing your local media. For our smaller companies, this is a very important step. Compiling a list of the local media in your area, whether it be newspapers, blogs, TV, or national media, and knowing those media at the networks or the newspapers or the editors, and keeping them updated on your product. We have 4 local newspapers. With each of those 4 newspapers has a technology reporter, somebody who reports on technology in the area. Keeping them informed about your product or service is great if they're looking to do pieces on companies expanding, or they want somebody to speak on an issue of importance. With the Edward Snowden issue that happened last year and data security in the United States, people in the IT sector became very important to the local media because they wanted a local person to talk about data security. Am I secure in my company? So knowing those reporters and keeping a relationship with them, which is as simple as sending them an email and updating them on your product or your company. Here's what we're writing about now. We're writing about data protection, or we're doing encryption, or other ways, it's if you're talking to the local paper, we have a food editor and saying we've created a new product, a new donut that is a croissant as well. So those types, talking with the local media and keeping them involved in your company also gets you exposure on the national level, because your product or service could become something of a national interest. So when they are reporting the news, the national media, at least here in the United States, looks at these smaller news markets and says who was good at being on the news. So that's kind of important for us, and getting your product or service in print.
So
That's
you actually are updating media, you're updating local media on what you're doing, hoping that one day they will come back to you as an expert, asking you or consulting you about the issues which you told them you're involved in, and that's actually free of charge marketing for you.
Yep, and that's all it takes is you sending an email, and you can put up a distribution list and send an email out, and this is what I'm doing. You know, this is the update, and it's as simple as that. But you have to make sure you're sending it to the right person. So if you're in the IT industry, you don't want to be sending it to the person who covers crime. or you want to be sending it to the technology reporter for the thing, or if it's a general reporter, sending it to the producer. Those things have helped. We have a service in the United States. It's actually pretty ingenious. It's called HARO, H-A-R-O. It's an acronym for Help a Reporter Out. Reporters will go to this website, submit their story that they're working on, and ask for experts to comment on the story. It's based out of New York City, and this is something that could be probably done in Europe as well. They're working on a story for any industry, and you get an email once a week from Haro as a person, an expert in the industry, saying, here's the stories that are being requested from media journalists from all over the United States. Do you have expertise in this? And that's what they do to get stories. So I helped a company back in my old job with the State Department that was doing a story on fuel additives for gasoline, helping increase the fuel mileage. And they got the New York Times to do a story on them about their company in helping consumers increase their fuel mileage. This is back when gasoline or petrol was $4 a gallon in the US, which is very expensive for us. So those types of things are important. So if you guys want to create that or figure out if that service is available in Europe, please be my guest and go ahead. I'll take a royalty fee at the end for that. But that's the kind of marketing to the media that can help a company succeed. It's free and it doesn't cost you any money at all. Marketing with a cause, here's something that we talk about all the time that helps gain human interest in your marketing. Whether or not you are working with a charity, local charity, giving services to a firm that is maybe for children, helping children learn, providing computer equipment for children to learn on, providing assistance to the elderly if it's a certain product. Those type of good marketing with a cause are good human interest stories for the media to cover. So, and that's free advertising for your company and free marketing in the press, and people will remember that. So those are the types of things that we work on with companies all the time. Are you marketing with a cause? Are you actually selling products or service with a cause related behind it? This is for everybody, but this is for some companies who have a product or service where they can be involved in the community directly. You always hear of the big companies. In the US, we have Adopt a Highway, where you adopt an actual street to clean up the trash on that street. And the sign would say, adopt a highway, this highway is adopted by this company. And there's signs all the way down the street with that company's advertising on it. So that's marketing with a cause, an example of it here in the States. Social media, of course, is the biggest one for marketing. If you can create a good social media following for your company, whether it be through Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever you use, those are great social media tools to announce new products and services, take pictures of your product, and use user product inputs. I'm developing this. We're announcing this is coming into the market. Those types of things help a company gain exposure. Instagram is great, so is Pinterest, because you can pin different things and show pictures and products all over the internet and flip different things into there, and other people can see what you've posted. So posting online and getting other people to repost what you have is a great way to market, and it's free. You're not paying for any of this. All it takes is you taking a picture and posting it online. Now that includes having to gain a user following, but you can do that if you have good products and good services. So that's what we talk about in social media. Twitter is very important in what we do at the state, because a lot of our followers are overseas and Twitter is used by everybody. So we talk about trade shows we're going to. Come to the Florida Pavilion at this trade show, receive a free glass of orange juice. So people will come to the Florida Pavilion at a trade show and get a free glass of Florida orange juice and then get to meet the companies that we have represented at that trade show. That's an example of what we do. For you guys, it would be beer or sausage or whatever, pierogies or whatever you want to do. But I'm just saying that that's the kind of things that you could do to help gain just people marketing and coming to see your product. We build a sandcastle at a lot of international trade shows, so people can come to a trade show and play in the sand and actually take their shoes off, put their feet in sand, and take their picture. And then we give them a glass of orange juice, but then they get to see the companies that we've brought to that trade show. Make sense? So those are the types of marketing that we work on. Any questions on that before I go on to the examples that I have? And I wanted to kind of discuss the next part. So
we can go on now.
perfect. I will mention, there are obviously the marketing that you can buy, but for what we do, of course, like you, are unlimited budgets at the state level. So the marketing that we can do, we try to find where, if it's free, we try to get it as many times as possible first before paying for it. So those are some of the things we work on. Is free is better advertising, and so you can keep that marketing budget for something bigger. So these are kind of some examples that I brought up that I thought would be interesting. And these are examples of good marketing, maybe or maybe not. And I wanted to share these with you. If you've ever heard of Tom's Shoes, have you ever heard of Tom's Shoes before?
Is it a company?
A big company, yep. It's an American company. Tom's Shoes has an ingenious plan. For every pair of shoes you buy from them, they donate shoes to a child in another country that does not have shoes. So your marketing, that's how they market, is they say, you buy a pair of shoes from us, it might be just a little bit more expensive, but you know that we are going to take shoes to a child in a foreign country for them to wear. And they take pictures of the kids with their shoes, so you can see, they don't have individually tracked, but you see all the kids who receive shoes from the donations that are being made. So every day on their social media, they show pictures of children receiving new shoes. Who would not want to buy a pair of shoes from a company that is giving shoes to a needy child? So that's a really good example of good marketing, and marketing with a cause. The second one is more sort of avid for the U.S. market. A furniture company in Ohio went on the news media in the local market and said, if you bought $2,000 worth of furniture from us before a certain date, and the American football team, the Cleveland Browns, it's NFL football, American, not soccer, but American football, won a playoff game, they would pay the entire price of your furniture. Well, the Cleveland Browns won a game this year in the playoffs. So that company had to put out $3.2 million worth of sales from people. So that is an example of what's called gambling marketing. We will give everybody free furniture if this company wins. They, of course, are hoping that the company does not win, or the Browns do not win a game, so that they don't have to pay. But they ended up having to pay $3 million. Was it worth it? So that's an example of interesting marketing techniques or strategies. Here's the last one, and this is the most peculiar one of all of them. A company in Florida buys a competitor company just because it's customer service record. Is that a good use of your marketing dollars, or marketing in general, to buy a company just for the purposes of having their customer service record? That just happened recently. I can't name the company because the sale's still going through. But those are examples of marketing, maybe good, indifferent, and then really bad examples of marketing. So, but I wanted your thoughts. I mean, are those these are the types of marketings that we have here in the States. What are some of the marketing efforts that you are seeing in your area kind of relate to this, or companies are going through? Would be interesting to hear.
Okay. Máš nám dali príklady takých tých podivných marketingových metód, ktoré u nich naboli, kde sa zažili v poslednom období. Pýta sa, či nejakú podobnú skúsenosť nejaký vlastný zážitok s marketingom nejakej spoločnosti. Zase máme my tu, ktorú by sme mu vedeli sprostredkovať. Looks like we need some time to think some good example over.
Sure, absolutely. And I'd love to continue this discussion. We can continue it on, by email and anything we can do to help out. But these are interesting to us, examples of what companies are doing for marketing. So if you can use these examples to help companies know what to do or what not to do, this is some examples from the US. So. The next thing I wanted to talk about is a point that we, as an economic development organization, work on a lot, and that is trade shows and conventions. This is for your companies that are second year and on companies. This is, conventions are also considered congresses or forums for the purposes of this if your company has a product or service that you want to get to market at an international trade show or a trade show in general, what is the best way to find distributors and representatives? And here's the question that we face a lot is, how should a company sell their product or service? Outside of their current sales team, should they be looking for distributors or representatives? And in this case, a lot of what we work with companies that are second year or first, second, and beyond companies is finding market reps for them or distributors. And trade shows are a perfect example of that. When a company goes to a trade show overseas, we provide a grant to the company that covers 50% of the cost of their booth at an international trade show. So let's say they come to a show like Medica is a good example. It's a big medical device show that happens in Germany every year. We, as the state of Florida, to get that company there, to help them find new markets, provide a grant to cover 50% of the cost of the booth itself. They have to pay for their flight and their hotel, but we cover the cost of the booth up to 50% for them. This helps offset the cost of doing business internationally at first. And then we are able to help them in market with matchmaking. So when they come to the market in Medica, our office has already scheduled appointments for them to meet with distributors and reps while they're there. So from the state's perspective, for a company that's a second, third, fourth year, this is a way to find new representation in foreign markets for them. This is good marketing because you're meeting the industry-specific people you want to target. In the IT sector, there's a show called CeBIT, or Productronica, that happens in Germany every year, Hanover, Germany usually. We have a Florida pavilion at this show where we are all the time looking for distributors and reps in foreign countries to meet with our companies from Florida. So that's kind of what we do for companies on the marketing side, is we say, here is Florida, here's us at a trade show, here are our companies, come meet them. And we list in the foreign markets all the companies that we meet. Also, the last part about this convention and trade show, and then I'll go into some quick comments, and I'd love to discuss more if you have questions, But conventions or congresses or forums are also good ways to do speaking engagements. If you can work with the organizers of a trade show, like Hanover Bit or Productronica, to get your companies speaking at the show, whether it be for 15 minutes or for however long they need, or on a panel, are good ways to get international press for your companies at these shows. We do this all the time through our offices. We have an office in Germany, an office in the Czech Republic, an office in France, Spain, the UK. They're all the time knowing which companies are coming for which shows, and making sure that there are possible speaking engagements they can speak at. That's an example of marketing, and maybe not having to pay for getting your product or service out there, but having a chance to have the floor and speak on your product or service. And that includes giving lectures or topics. So, any questions on what we do at the state level with the trade shows and missions?
Speaking about your Florida stand, is it totally financed by Enterprise Florida, or do also local and regional county governments contribute to, because I mean it's expensive to move over there, you have to pay the fees for having the stand at the fair or at the convention, etc. So how do you collect all the financing you need to do this?
Yes. That's a very good point. We have the regional authorities who are looking to recruit businesses to come to Florida, provide monies on top of the normal booth fees to pay for, help offset even more of the cost for the companies. So we have, in Florida, we are broken up into counties. We have Miami, Orlando, and Tampa usually buy space or advertising to offset the cost of the companies being there. So when you look out over a show, it has Florida, but then it also has come visit Miami, or look at Miami to do business, or Orlando with Disney, those types of things. They provide product marketing for us. So the regional authorities play a big part in how we market these international trade shows. Plus, they can say that they have companies in the stand for Florida that are there with them. Meet this company from our area. They can tell you how good it is to be in Orlando or Miami or Tampa.
Yeah, when I was over there in Florida, I remember the city of Orlando was already was in fact competing for getting an investor, getting some medical company to get to Orlando, and then I don't know what the steps they had to do, but I remember they were really celebrating to get that investor in the Orlando area.
Yeah, they do incentive packages. We have monies at the state level that coincide with regional monies to bring companies in. So the monies available for companies usually involve workforce training, buying land, doing all the building permits for a company, and then the company has to put up the building. In the case that you're speaking of was Medical City down by the airport. I remember a company came in because we gave them land. They did not have to pay corporate income tax in the state for 5 years, and then from then it was gradually instituted for the next up until 10. And a number of different things. So that's how they, from the regional side, they can get companies to move to Florida. Then the state provides more monies to help incentivize the workforce. For every employee that you hire, we will give you this amount of money in return as a company to help offset the cost of having new labor or new employees. So that's big. In the incentive world is what you can provide. The state of Texas does a very good job at this. They will walk into a company and say, how much money do you need to move to my state? And they say, whatever number, and the governor has a fund of money that he just writes a check, and they give them a check right there and say, here's how much it takes. Literally, that's what happens for some companies. So it's very competitive incentive process to move companies. But once you have them, it helps having those companies there because they talk to other companies about how good it is to do business, usually. So, my last slide is my comments real quick, and then I'd love to hear questions if you have any. Increasing sales is always a small company's priority, but what is the cost of increasing sales? Do you have to hire new employees? Do you have to change your products or services? That's the biggest question we have when you're talking about increasing sales and good marketing, is what is the cost to increase your sales? In the case of our office, we provide all of our services for free for a company because we're paid by the state tax dollars. So a lot of how we help a company is free for them. There are little parts where they have to pay, like the stand or the trade show, but they have a very unique avenue to increase their sales. The next thing is, for us, we found in the state of Florida, is marketing also involves knowing the potential of the market and when you start to over-market your product. If you start to send too many emails to people, they get confused and they just shut you off and they try to unsubscribe from your newsletter. But knowing the potential of your market is very important to the marketing process, and knowing when you start to over-market. If you send more than one email a day, it kind of gets confusing, and people, or one email a week, people start wanting to unsubscribe. Or one phone call a day. If you send more than 2 a week, it depends on your market and what you're doing. But that is a very important part of the marketing process, is knowing the potential and knowing when you over-market. That's what we see with a lot of companies. Good marketing is beneficial. This is a pretty fun point. Good marketing is beneficial, but great marketing is what people remember. We have the Super Bowl every year in America, and every year you can count on a Budweiser commercial for beer. And you always know when the Budweiser commercial comes on, it will have a Budweiser horse, if you've ever seen the Clydesdale, the big horse, and a dog. So you can always count on Budweiser talking about their beer, plus a horse and a dog. So that's great marketing from a company. Or in the case of Red Bull is everywhere in every sport, Formula One, motorcycle racing, everywhere. You know they're going to be in the action sports arena, doing anything with action sports. That's great marketing. They figured the niche for their product. So good marketing is beneficial, but really figuring out a niche is what your people will remember. And the last one is, this is the one that takes a lot of time and a lot of weighing, is getting the market right, which takes time, will lead to great sales potential if you do not forget customer service. You can have all the marketing in the world, but if you don't have the customer service, you're not going to achieve the market success. So that's kind of the part of it. Getting the marketing right will lead to great sales, if you do not forget the customer service, your base.
Excellent.
So that's my presentation. Does anybody have any questions or comments on kind of what I've gone through?
Looks like quite a lot of information that we received, so perhaps we just, had to digest everything. Max and I believe that during the next series of the following seminars, perhaps some of the questions will actually relate to the first two ones that we had a chance to have with you today. So on behalf of everyone, thank you very much, Max, because it was very fruitful. I'd say we learned a lot, and you're a good lecturer. This is actually the first time that I heard you making lectures like this, and I had to congratulate you on that. Good job. Well
Absolutely. I'm happy to help in any way. Poland and Slovakia have a very warm place in my heart, and so I love helping wherever possible. You have my contact information, so at any time, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to email me or find me on Skype or LinkedIn or Facebook or anything like that and ask a question. I'm delighted to help. I want to see businesses succeed. That's my #1 goal. I'd love to see them in Florida, but I'd love to see businesses succeed in general and do well in the market. So anytime I can help or any of my resources can help, I'd love to be there. For the next session, I'm going to be bringing in the director of the Small Business Network to talk about the export market plans more in depth. And so I'll have, hopefully have her with me on the next one we do in March. So we can
Yeah,
have a discussion on that. So.
excellent. We're looking forward to that.